The explanatory model of the motoric movement action. The explanatory model of the motoric movement action encompasses the clarification of all motoric and perception processes at the functional or the behavioral level within any imaginable motoric action. Within this video clip, all functional motoric and perception processes are revealed within the grasping of a coffee cup. Module 1. 3 Autonomous voki.
In Module 1, it is explained why each motoric action obligatorily requires 3 attentional voki. Subsequently, the full substantive treatise of each individual focus is provided within the separate modules 2, 3 and 4. The execution of each motoric movement action encompasses the obligatory cooperation of 3 separate movements within 3 autonomous parts. And that is due to the fact that any imaginable motoric movement action compels a touching process of 1. A movement of an environmental object as part of a catch action, and 2. A movement that is initiated out of our own body as part of a throw action. So at the left side of the screen we are catching the coffee cup, and at the right side we are throwing the grasp hand, but the perception processes will remain autonomous. They only will come together in the touching process of the two, which is just a consequence of those autonomous perception processes. The catch action just requires 1 focus. However, within the throw action we are just capable of perceiving the movement of the relevant fingertips within an action trajectory shape on the outside of our body, and are only capable of perceiving the execution of that movement on the inside of our body. So 3 separate perception processes need to occur because the involved parts, which together are only capable of successfully executing the action, belong to irreconcilable worlds. The perspective out of the environmental object within the catch action can never be linked to the perspective out of the movement sprouting from our own body within the throw action. And besides this, within solely the throwing of the grasp hand, the perception of the movement on the outside of the body has no relationship whatsoever with the perception of the internal execution of that movement.
Module 2. The focus within the catch action.
Like the registration of the first zeros have nothing to do with the recording of the later zeros by the visual organ, so the visual recording of a coffee cup at the first moment has nothing to do with the visual registration of that coffee cup later on. However, in regard to the visual perception, it is of major importance to record differences in positions P of either the zeros or the coffee cup in order to experience relative movement. So within our perception processes, the zeros and the coffee cup actually do move like any other environmental object. But the visual perception records it as a zero movement within a timeline. So within our experience, the coffee cup most often stands still, but now you can understand that always 1 focus needs to catch the cup perpetually.
Module 3. The primary focus within the throw action.
The primary focus within the throw action encompasses a complete different focus. That focus solely constitutes how the outside of the relevant fingertips within an action trajectory shape move towards the coffee cup, subsequently fulfilling the essence of the task within grasping. The leading focus within the throw action therefore compels the tactical creation and the actual execution of an action trajectory shape, in which it is essential to understand that this solely sprouts from the perspective of the position of the relevant fingertips. This perspective will sometimes be shown very plastically by the red marble. It needs to compel a shape of an action trajectory over which the fingertips are capable to arrive uninterrupted at the handle, and which tactily discounts the upcoming pushing process. This displayed action trajectory will remain to be the primary example within this presentation, but in fact it is only one of the countless possibilities. Within the shape of this action trajectory, you zigzag between 2 objects or persons. This might occur if someone is blocking your cup, or if the kitchen table is used as a temporary grocery storage. If you first want to stir your coffee, you most often approach the spoon with such a little higher action trajectory shape. A straighter kind of action trajectory will be constructed if with the right hand you want to arrive at the handle situated on the left side of the cup. Within there, it is essential that you start to see that within all those examples, you look for the possibility which allows an interconnected chain of positions P of the fingertips, and that in spite of the many commonalities, the action trajectory shapes show subtle differences. But it is even far more essential that you start to see that the perceptual image of a latent action trajectory shape is constructed prior to the actual execution of the action. So, if we now return to the action trajectory shape which I chose and constructed within the grasping of this coffee cup, then you are now capable to understand that this action trajectory shape will become manifest out of the perspective of the fingertips, like a marble completes a marble run. Within the aforementioned examples, we need to perceive the movement of the relevant fingertips within an action trajectory shape with visual as well as with proprioceptive perception processes. However, within pitch black darkness, we are also very well capable of grasping coffee cups by positioning the not grasp hand at the cup. Then we perceive the focus within the catch action with solely proprioceptive perception, and we are capable to solely perceive the primary focus within the throw action with proprioceptive perception processes as well.
Module 4. The secondary focus within the throw action.
It is already hard to understand that within the simple grasping of a coffee cup, one autonomous catch and one autonomous throw action is involved. But it is even harder to see that within solely the throw action of the grasp hand, two separate voki must be pointed at two autonomous movements. The outside of the fingertips do host living cells, but they are definitely not capable of moving the relevant fingertips along an action trajectory shape on the outside of the body. The movement of the relevant fingertips along an action trajectory shape is actually executed by very awkward other movements on the inside of the body. Within grasping with the hand, the muscles are situated very close towards the outside of the relevant fingertips, but they will always remain within the body. So the involved movements are strictly separated because they exclusively occur outside and inside our body, due to which it is easy to understand that they belong to two irreconcilable worlds which demand two autonomous perception processes. Due to which it is also easy to understand that the red marble exactly marks the division of those incompatible worlds. The secondary focus, or the grasp technique, needs to be perceived on the inside of our body just until the outside of the marble. The primary focus within the throw action must be perceived from the outside of the marble until the handle of the cup. Or with other words, with perception of movement on the inside of the body, we simultaneously need to perceive movement on the outside of the body. In here, the insider within the field of the proprioceptive perception recognizes the phenomena of movement and limb position. We are solely capable to perceive the secondary focus within a throw action with proprioceptive perception processes, because the relevant movements will always remain on the inside of our body.
Module 5. The formula of the motoric movement action.
The term motoric movement action explicitly shows the aforementioned division within any motoric action. It defines the movement of the relevant fingertips within the action trajectory shape as the movement action, and it defines the movement within the body as the motoric movement. So within the term motoric movement action, the word movement is concealed twice. And it shows that any imaginable throw action can solely be executed by two autonomous movements which both need exclusive perception processes. The formula clearly shows the two complex subsystems and that the perception of the movement within one subsystem has a complex relationship with the perception of the movement within the other system. And besides that, the formula also shows crystal clear that the secondary focus belonging to the motoric movement needs to be pointed at a primary focus belonging to the movement action.
Module 6. The tau value within the movement action.
Within the clarification of the tau value in this module and of the cortical streams within module 8, the attention must solely be pointed at the primary focus within the throw action. and that exclusively encompasses the perception of the movement of the marble within the marble run. It is essential that you will start to understand that solely the relevant fingertips are going to move along an action trajectory shape on the outside of our body, and that only this part is going to fulfill the essence of the task sprouting from an egocentric formulated will. Within the grasping of a coffee cup, solely the fingertips will fulfill the compellingly linked touch and push process, which actually will take care that we get the coffee cup into our hands. And so our perception processes are mainly occupied with this essence. The tau value within this module became known by D.N. Lee within his long jump research. Within the stride to the take-off board, he noticed that an athlete fills a cap until it completely disappears. He defined this phenomenon as the zeroing down of the tau value. With the autonomous appointing of the words line and shape within the term line segment shape, the explanatory model provides the ultimate ecological clarification within the grasping of a coffee cup. It shows that the relevant fingertips, besides the shape at the cognitive level, simultaneously will always fill a line one-dimensionally at the most basal level. So like the long jump athlete closes the cap towards the take-off board, now the relevant fingertips will be moved towards the coffee cup, and in exactly the same way one is able to see that the tau value approaches zero. D.N. Lee defined this phenomenon rather hazy with the text, the state where you are in now and the state where you want to be in. The explanatory model now reveals the exact origin of the tau value. You could experience the tau value as the disappearing of a gap, but also as the filling of the whole latent action trajectory shape by the manifest actual part of that line segment shape, in which needs to be remarked that the perception of the actual position of the fingertips marks the exact division between the manifest and latent part.
Module 7. The coupling of the three autonomous voki.
The perception of the movement within the three separate voki remains autonomous. However, they are linked in a set universal triad. Focus 1 is coupled to focus 2 and is leading. Focus 2 is coupled to focus 3 and is leading as well. So the primary focus within a throw action occupies the center position within the triad and is part of two couplings. On the one hand, it needs to be aligned with the perception of the movement within the catch action, and on the other hand, it needs to provide a guideline for the perception of the movement related to the execution of an action trajectory shape. Or with other words, focus 1 and focus 3 solely have a relationship with the primary focus within the throw action.
Module 7a. The coupling of the catch to the throw action.
The essence within the autonomous catch action solely encompasses the perception of the movement within a line segment shape of the environmental object. The essence within the autonomous throw action solely encompasses the perception of the movement within a line segment shape of that body part or object that is thrown by us. They only show a relationship within the coupling of those actions, which need to lead to the construction of a perceptual image of an intersection point of the two line segment shapes. Within this coupling, the action trajectory shape of the environmental object will always have to lead, because we will never be capable of influencing the movement of the environment. Which leads to the conclusion that in, for example, daily traffic, we deliberately want to avoid actual intersection points with the other participants. Within tennis, for example, we conversely do want to create actual intersection points. Then we should create a perceptual image of an intersection point based upon 1. A latent perceptual image of an action trajectory shape of the tennis ball, and based upon 2. A latent perceptual image of the action trajectory shape of the tennis racket head. Then we need to approach the intersection point with the tennis racket head, depending on the fact when a tennis ball will occur within that perceptual latent position. And we were destined to execute exactly the same when coffee cups normally moved, with just the sole difference that we then should construct a perceptual image of an intersection point of two action trajectory shapes out of the perspective of the cup and the relevant fingertips. But that is obviously not the case. Within the grasping of a coffee cup, the movement most often encompasses a zero movement within a zero line segment shape. Then a touching process is only capable to occur if we construct a perceptual image of a latent intersection point of the action trajectory shapes out of the perspective of the relevant fingertips and the coffee cup, which practically implies that we most often will have to move the grasp hand towards the coffee cup.
Module 7b. The coupling of the two voki within the throw action.
The essence of the coupling of the two voki within a throw action solely encompasses the action trajectory shape of the grasp hand, because factually the hand needs to be guided towards the aforementioned intersection point, completely dependent on the leaning focus as part of the catch action. So the only goal within this coupling is to move the relevant fingertips along an action trajectory shape, or with other words, this part is solely occupied with bridging the gap between the fingertips and the cup. This reveals a novum that one part of the action is not occupied with the coffee cup at all, and is one able to understand that we absolutely aren't capable of grasping cups, but solely are capable of moving the hand towards the coffee cup. Solely the fact that the explanatory model shows that the throw action of the grasp hand hosts two autonomous perception processes provides the opening to the awareness that the coupling could be part of the process. Current scientific mindsets only consider one focus within one undivided action, and that just doesn't allow the rising of any coupling awareness at all. So if we now are actually going to grasp a coffee cup, then for this explanation it is essential that you start to understand that we autonomously perceive the two foci within the throw action of the grasp hand, inside and outside our body, in which the exact border is marked by the outside of the relevant fingertips. However, it is even more essential that you will start to see that they occur simultaneously. So we perceive the movement of the relevant fingertips along an action trajectory shape and the technique movement within the body simultaneously, and this provides the possibility that they can be controlled vice versa. So if we now on the outside of the body perceive that the fingertips come closer to the coffee cup, or with other words that we perceive that the tau value is approaching 0, then within the body the movement of the fingertips is slowed down. Due to the coupling of the primary to the secondary focus within a throw action, it becomes fully comprehensible why at any given moment we are capable to accelerate the relevant fingertips within the action trajectory shape, why at any given moment we are capable to decelerate or to stop and again start the movement of the relevant fingertips within the action trajectory shape, why at any given moment we are capable to adjust the action trajectory of the fingertips at any position P. And this coupling also completely clarifies why we even don't have to touch the cup if the tau value is almost 0. Especially this last phenomenon shows that we are absolutely not occupied with the touching of the coffee cup in that phase, but with the bridging of an action trajectory shape, the void between the animal and the environment. This becomes crystal clear if we want to expel a mosquito from our head. Then we first need to accelerate the hitting hand, and if we then were only capable to decelerate the hitting hand once we perceive the first touching of the head, we would always have to hit through our head. This obviously doesn't occur because due to the coupling we are capable to hit just until our head. Within your own empirical experience, you are able to notice that we even don't have to touch our head in the end of the hitting. You are capable to just finish millimeters in front of your head. The execution of any imaginable motoric movement action universally hosts three entities: the animal, the environment, and the space between the animal and the environment. If we don't bridge that void, a touching process will never be able to occur.
Module 8. The function of the cortical streams.
It is essential that you start to understand that the clarification within this module, as well as the clarification of the tau value within module 6, is only pointed at the primary focus within a throw action. Within that focus, the relevant fingertips are moved towards the coffee cup, due to which solely this part fulfills the essence of the task. The explanatory model of the motoric movement action indicates that due to the two complex subsystems within the throw action, we are capable of constructing a latent perceptual image of any imaginable action trajectory shape. And that is the only reason why Roger Federer is capable to answer any incoming ball trajectory shape with the construction and execution of a perceptual image of an ever different shape of an action trajectory of his tennis racket head. If that was not the case, then he would have to practice each possible incoming ball trajectory shape separately, and that is well nigh impossible. His hitting technique repertoire hosts a limited number of specific action trajectory shapes, and he employs those universal shapes to the specific characteristics of the first incoming ball trajectory shape. So if that was not the case, then even Roger Federer wouldn't be capable to play tennis. Although it seems less pregnant, due to the same two complex subsystems, we are also capable of constructing any imaginable action trajectory shape towards a coffee cup. Ecologically, you aren't capable to suggest an idea which is going to outclass this system in efficiency and effectivity. However, the explanatory model of the motoric movement action reveals a huge detrimental downside in relationship to this tremendous ecological advantage. The factual consequence namely encompasses that due to the involvement of two complex subsystems, we just aren't capable to move the fingertips straight along an action trajectory shape. Because the movement of the fingertips along an action trajectory shape on the outside of the body has absolutely no relationship with the movement of the execution of the action on the inside of the body. And therefore the relevant fingertips will be capable to and definitely will deviate from the perceptual image of the latent action trajectory shape at any position P. Maybe we construct perfect perceptual images of very straight action trajectory shapes, but the explanatory model shows that we are solely capable of executing them jerkingly or shockingly. This phenomenon is plastically present and extensively clarified within the motoric movement action nerve spiral. Now within the nerve spiral, a perfectly straight action trajectory shape is present, and within your own empirical experiences, you are quickly capable to determine that the ring is going to deviate from the spiral randomly. It's not different when we grasp a coffee cup. Within an optimization process, we are solely capable to move the relevant fingertips shockingly to the coffee cup. And that is completely in line with Bernstein, Schulhorn and others. You have never walked 1 meter identically, you never wrote one letter, word or word part in the same identical way, Roger Federer never hit one identical forehand, and you have never executed one identical action trajectory shape towards your coffee cup. Due to those facts, the explanatory model postulates the more than legitimate question of how the movement of the fingertips is mediated and formulates with that a crucial need for preferably a double and mutual process that is monitoring the progress within the action trajectory shape, in which it would be very desirable that one, out of the perspective of the actual position of the fingertips, a relationship with the action trajectory shape is maintained, and two, that out of the perspective of the action trajectory shape, a relationship with the actual position of the fingertips is maintained. And the explanatory model detects and associates this within the scientific research in relationship to the cortical streams. For non-insiders, the numerous things we need to perceive at the functional level are finally processed within just two main highways, the dorsal and ventral stream. In spite of the fact that the representatives of the mainly physiological research even themselves proclaim that they still have absolutely no idea about the functional operation of those streams, many remarkable aspects are mentioned which clearly acknowledge the vision within the explanatory model. Out of the physiology, the processing processes of the perception are regarded of equal importance like the explanatory model regards them out of the functionality. The what versus where idea remains extremely hazy because they aren't capable to link the relevant fingertips to an action trajectory shape, but conversely appoint numerous correct characteristics. On the other hand, the term action path is almost exactly the same like the term action trajectory shape. In the beginning they thought that the cortical streams operated in isolation. With the years and with every ongoing research, this idea has been adjusted and currently they are convinced that a mutual relationship needs to exist. The scientists clearly indicate that the perception-action coupling must have a relationship with the cortical streams. The explanatory model completely underpins this idea and shows within Module 10 the exact origin of the perception-action coupling. So, on grounds of logical reasoning, the explanatory model is solely capable to come to the conclusion that the dorsal and ventral stream exactly execute what the explanatory model presumes. The ventral stream then processes all the perceptions mainly towards the action trajectory shape, but with a strict relationship to the actual position of the fingers. The dorsal stream then processes all the perceptions towards mainly the actual position of the fingertips, but with a strict relationship to the action trajectory shape. Within the mutual relationship, the ventral stream has the permanent task to immediately construct a new perceptual image of the latent part of the action trajectory shape following each deviation of the relevant fingertips. Then logically, the dorsal stream has the permanent task to immediately throw the relevant fingertips in the beginning of that new line segment shape and to follow it until the next deviation occurs. Due to the fact that milliseconds are involved within the processing of the perception, the jerkingly movement of the fingertips is a factual consequence. The important novum that stems from this is the fact that the execution of action trajectory shape is mediated by the cortical streams, and that shows that the grasping of a coffee cup can only be understood as an optimization process. Just like every footstep, the tip of a pen, a tennis racket head, you are absolutely not capable to move your fingertips straight along an action trajectory shape, even if you really want them to.